Another year older and wiser, and another fantastic draft for your Sacramento Kings. So, when does potential become progress? That's the big question. The process to be trusted in Sacktown. We'll break it all down right now. It's your team preview for the Sacramento Kings. With that, we welcome you inside our studios here in Atlanta. It is your team preview for the upcoming season for the Sacramento Kings. Over the next 30 minutes, through 10 points, we'll take you A to Z, get you ready for the Kings season with some help. Smitty and Booze along with me, and how do we not? Duke, after all. Sorry, Smitty. How do we not talk about Bagley, some more Bagley, and some more Bagley? Exciting talent. What do you look for a Kings fan that's watching? What are they about to see from Bagley? What are they getting?
Supreme talent, very good. Left-handed, smooth, can go inside, outside, about 6'10", 6'11", runs the floor effortlessly like a deer, can shoot a little bit on the perimeter, plays above the rim, got a high IQ, obviously being a Dookie. But a lot of talent, man. I'm excited to watch him play in the NBA and see what he can bring to the Sacramento Kings team.
Smitty, we've seen top talents go in the draft, end up on teams that aren't supposed to be good, and it's difficult. What about Bagley tells you that he's got the right mentality, game, a little bit of both, where he can succeed and find a way in this environment?
I think everything Boo said as far as the skill set, and also watching him at Duke, he was obviously the best player, but he could get his points without just having to feed him night in and night out and go to him 4 or 5 times. I think he even needs to be a little bit more aggressive at the NBA level, but he could find points and shots and stats just by going out there playing. Number one thing for him is don't get discouraged. I mean, I think you have a guy like Bagley, he's probably won at every level, high level in high school, AAU, and then in college, obviously. But it's going to be a little struggle in time for him in Sacramento. I just hope he doesn't get discouraged.
Yeah, how do you go through that? Because I don't think people understand, you never, when you're a Bagley, you guys are the same way, when you're drafted, you never fail until you get to the point where now you've got to deal with an elite level where everyone is like you were. All of a sudden, you're not man among boys. What's the toughest transition Bagley will face going through that for the first time, Boost?
It is tough. I remember leaving Duke and getting drafted, going to Cleveland. This is the year before LeBron. And that year we won, 27 games.
Yeah.
And we got LeBron. So it was great that year. But that year where we lost a lot, like I had lost more in the first month of the season. I lost my whole 3 years in college. So to Smitty's point, it's a tough adjustment, because at the end of the day, you're used to winning at every level. For him, look at his progress. The first 10 games will be tough. The next 10 games will be a little better. The next 10 games. So each 10-game segment, he'll improve because he'll get used to the NBA, the travel, the competition level continues to go up and up. And so it'll challenge him to go up and up, not being discouraged. Some of the vets like Zach Randolph, Iman Shumpert can help him with that.
Right.
He a franchise face kind of a guy? You see him as becoming that kind of a player?
I think so, and I think the way the league is going, he is tailor-made for a guy that's a 4-5 that take you inside and out, and obviously he gets a little bit more range on his jump shot. Also, to Boo's point, I would say as a young guy and rookie for me is 2 things. Time management. Practice is over at 1 or 2. You got the entire day left. This is not college where now you're going to have friends, people are gone. What can you do in your time management? Second, practice. I mean, at our level,
practice.
You dominated practice.
You're talking about practice?
Yeah, I'm talking about practice because you dominated practice when you're in college, when you're one of the best players. Now you got to understand is it won't be easy against Zach Randolph. He'll be better than Zach Randolph, but being able to go in and every day learn and get better and understand is taking care of your body. Practice is going to be tough when you come from college, and also time management. And it's 82 games along with those practices. He's going to have to really take care of his body.
Or as you say every time we do a Zebo highlight on Game Time, first name 20.
First name 20, last name 10.
Yeah. We look at some of the youth, and there's a lot of youth. They've had a couple of really good drafts in Sacramento. De'Aaron Fox was a guy who you love in college. I see you smiling. You love watching him play. You love watching him in the tournament. That game against Ball, I think everybody talked about before his draft, an example of the kind of swag and attitude he brought to the table. What did you see from him in his first season, Booth?
Yeah, I liked him in his rookie year. He plays with a good speed to him, a good poise to him. There was a couple games where I saw him hit a game winner with great confidence. Another game down the stretch of the game, he made the right play. I think this is definitely a point guard they can build on right there in Sacramento. I like his demeanor. I like his attentiveness to his teammates. And I think he's a guy that can pair with Bagley and some of those other guys is a good foundation to start building around.
And you said it best, Casey. He has that moxie. He's just kind of that winner, the guy you want to go, you turn on the TV to watch him. And then we've had him in studio. He's just one of those guys. He just has that type of infectious, I guess, body language and professionalism. That's another thing I love about him. And he's a sponge. He asks questions. And then when you talk about speed at any level, it's the number one option because you have a guy that fast and also that guy that competes that hard. I think they have a good one at the point guard. With him and Bagley together running pick and roll, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, you got to be excited about Fox moving forward. I think what kind of was underrated about this team last year was the growth of Willie Cauley-Stein.
Right.
We started to see him really not only playing bigger minutes, but offensively on the boards, improved pretty much all across the board last year.
Yeah, he's a talented kid, man. He's one of those guys that you can see his growth every year, especially defensively. Can block shots, can rebound, can really run the court, plays above the rim. They threw a lot of lobs to him. He's a guy that's continued to improve. So they have a really good young core. That front line with him and Bagley in that point guard position with Fox, you see this guy able to shoot the three. He's very talented, so you want to continue to nurture that, let that grow, let that blossom.
Go ahead, Smitty.
A guy that I'm looking really forward to, been hurt his career, but I think it's a gem in Harry Giles.
Yes.
Yes.
Harry Giles in high school, I got a chance to watch.
Yes.
Well, he should.
Like the Duke show.
I mean, but in high school, it was unbelievable. And I just hated for him, that young fella, because he was hurt at Duke. He has the skill set and the size. Remind me a little bit of a Chris Webber when he was in high school. If he can get healthy, Booz, I think you're talking about a frontline guy that can really help the Sacramento Kings.
There's a lot of Duke and a lot of Kentucky. They certainly have a lot of conversations during the course of the year because you think about Labissiere, among others. How about Buddy Hield?
Yeah.
Who we don't think about as a younger player. It's not like he's old. I mean, really,
Right.
Yeah, he's moved. We've seen him in a couple of different places. What have you seen from him in his career so far through the first couple of years of his NBA career?
Yeah, well, obviously in college he was a flat-out scorer, but he's still a guy that can stretch that floor for you. He can shoot the three. We're going to see him with the Sacramento team playing off some of them young guys. He'll be able to help them get more space because you got to guard him. You can't leave him wide open because he's a kid that can get 30 points, 35 points. So for him, I just want to see him continue to grow, be more consistent, and also get a chance to do a little bit more. Maybe he can pull off the ball off the dribble a little bit, create some havoc for him, make some plays. But he's definitely a guy that can shoot the ball. When
we look at the way Dave Yeager has handled it in the past, last year, when they had George Hill, they've tried to play a lot of veterans a lot of time. We saw a lot of vets. There were a lot of games we're sitting there looking, and there's Zebo down the stretch, right?
Vince Carter
down the stretch, getting big minutes. How much do you need to kind of just hand the reins to these kids this year? How does Dave do the best he can with this group this season?
I thought he did a nice job in having those veterans, like you said, George Hill for the guards, and the wing guys is Vince Carter, and for the bigs is Zach Randolph. But Casey, you're totally right. This year, you got to hand the keys over to these young guys. They're going to have to take their lumps and bumps, and I think it's time for them. And I still think they have a long way to go, but right now, I love Zebo. That's my guy, but I think you've got to go with these young guys and let them get their feet wet. They're going to go through it, but it's time for them to have the keys.
Yeah, I mean, Booz, you mentioned earlier, and you're right, De'Aaron Fox had a couple of real great moments down the stretch of games, but we didn't get to see these guys on the floor a lot together. Right. How much did you learn as a young player during those mistakes you made in fourth quarters of games? How much does this group need to do that this year?
Yeah, that was a big growth process for me. I got thrown in the fire right away when I went to Cleveland. Started at power forward. I did have a great vet in Tyrone Hill who taught me the ropes a little bit. But learning against Kevin Garnett, we talked about off camera, failing against Karl Malone, failing against some of these OG vets that taught me the ropes, Chris Webber, helped me propel to my successes later in my career. So that's where these Sacramento Kings are going to be at. They need to fail a little bit against the San Antonios and against the Golden State Warriors and against the Houston Rockets so they can figure out how to succeed. Because winning in the NBA as a youngster is very hard to do. But the sooner you learn how to get through some of those failures, you can start winning.
I'm listening to you guys talk about Cauley-Stein, Bagley, Fox. Fair to say the pace should be a pretty quick one with this offense. Is that the kind of game you want to play?
Yeah, I think so. And I think for young guys, it's hard for them to all get on the same page defensively. A lot of young guys, it just takes a while, that end defensively. So I think it's better for them to run. I don't know if they're a half-court team. I don't know if they have somebody who can stabilize them from a standpoint as a go-to guy. So I think they're better fit, especially Willie Cauley-Stein, the way he runs, and Bagley and Fox. they got to use that speed and that youth and those young legs.
All right, the question is, what is the best way to use Bagley? We're going to break that down a little bit and get to more of the depth chart. We talked about some of those vets. They've got some on this team, but they've also got some youth and some talent. The Kings, potential aplenty.